Welcome to True Jamaica Buzz, news and entertainment with a buzz. The video that you saw at the start of this is how tribal the politics still is, even from back in the 80s or so. You would have thought that with the implementation of common sense and people just realizing that, listen, this politics thing makes absolutely no sorts of sense. The only persons that benefit from this are the politicians because they are just there to line their pockets, whether it is PNP and JLP. All of these politicians that you see, them have each other number and them communicate. They go to the same places. They live in the same lush neighborhoods. They have the same agenda, meaning going to politics, get rich, rob the public's purse at the expense of the people. Have the people in all sorts of altercation, fighting for power, fighting for shower, only to get the SHITTY end of the stick. So even when you hear these politicians go on social media, go on the news, and they're telling their followers, their sheeples, please refrain from getting into any sort of verbal or physical altercation. Refuse. Do not joke up the opposition. Do not shut up the opposition. Don't run them over with any sorts of vehicle. These people just have a natural instincts of hate that has been instilled in their brains for a couple of decades or so from back in the 80s. They are politically inclined, meaning that it is politically driven, meaning that them see them grandfather or their grandmother saying that they are PNP, don't know what PNP do, don't know what JLP do, vice versa. However, them come and a fight the same old fight and nothing has changed. As a matter of fact, if anything has changed, it has gotten progressively worse and worse. So while these big men from the PNP and JLP, yes, they may show some word and use all sorts of social media dubplate and defame each other's character, you will not see any of them throwing any sorts of fists. And in this circumstance, like you see, the man in the JLP color have one big knife in his back. Sorry, in the PNP color have one big knife in his back pocket. And the man in the JLP color is coming in and confronting him. He was just waiting for Wheel and pop off that knife and lend the man a couple in his chest. So the moral of the story is that these people are willing to fight for power, fight for shower, lose them life, lose them freedom, just to get the minimal part of whatever benefit is out there. Because obviously, these people are not very good at managing the affairs of the country. Hence why the US dollar is about 160 for one. Hence why the roads are shitty. Hence why the people are living in a squalor. Hence why places such as the Bahamas that don't have the natural resources like Jamaica have, their dollar is 1 for 1. However, their prime minister is making 1/3 of what our prime minister is making and politicians is making based on the promises that they've made, that the more money that them get paid is the more that they are going to do. Have you seen anything significantly better since they have increased their salary? Is the lifestyle of the people that are defending them and willing to lose their life and freedom any better? I rest my case. Point blank and period. We saw yesterday, a day or so ago, that Judge Sykes, pretty much dropped a bombshell when he said that Vybz Kartel is lucky to be out on the streets as a free man, entertaining millions, making millions. Now, a lot of persons interpreted that as the judge being biased. But the truth and the fact is that the judge is doing his job. That is what judges do. Try to send criminal elements to the big yard for the longest time possible, especially when that individual or individuals were charged for the takeaway of a next life. In the case of Mr. Lizard Williams. Now, a lot of persons don't understand what the judge said because he was not direct. He said Vybz Kartel beat the case on a technicality. Vybz Kartel beat the case even though the prosecution did their job, the police did their job, the investigators did their job. Any and all persons that are attached were attached to the case, which was the biggest case in the history of Jamaica by far. They did their job. However, it was because of inefficiencies, because of delays, in which Vybz Kartel was freed, he and his co-accused. So I never really said what was the main problem. And people, if you've listened to me long enough, I had said it before, that Vybz Kartel beat that case. Not because, and I am not saying that he is guilty or innocent, because a man is innocent until proven guilty. Even if he was found guilty in the initial case, guilty on the appeal, guilty on the Caribbean Court of Appeal, and then went to the Privy Council, which is in UK, and then the Privy Council said that the Court of Appeal should have made a decision as to if they were going to try him once again or they are going to let him walk free. So when you hear the judge, saying that everybody did their job, however, persons that are responsible, and the way that he described the way that Lizard lost his life. And this is based on physical evidence in which persons that are part of the investigative crew went to the alleged scene of crime and they said they found like flesh, like blood, like bones. It seems as if he was beaten to a pulp. Seems as if he is the operative word. Well, there were medical evidence that said that somebody, more than likely, the Lizard was taken out on that scene. It was a bloody, gory crime scene, based on what investigators said. So when him said the judicial is not efficient, what exactly is he talking about? What is the specific technical terms in which he beat that case, but the case? And I am going to tell you, and like I said, I have heard before, based on sources. The technical term in which he beat the case is that the paperwork, the transcripts were not ready through the Court of Appeal, Supreme Court to be specific, because whenever there's any sorts of gun or murder charge, then it goes to the Supreme Court. That is where he was tried. That is where he was found guilty and given 35 years is co-defendants, lesser years, 25 and so to 15 or so. So pretty much when it went official trial, you know the result already, guilty. Court of Appeal, guilty. Caribbean Court, guilty. Went to Privy Council. Privy Council said it's going back to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal is going to make a determination as to if he was going to get a retrial. Well, people, in a retrial, the defense lawyers has the option of asking for the transcript of the original case, the Court of Appeal, the Caribbean Court of Appeal, the Privy Council. Now remember, Vybz Kartel was incarcerated. He and his co-accused were incarcerated for in excess of 12 years and 10 months, give or take 2 months, short of 13 years. However, the paperwork was not ready. Yes, the transcript was ready for the appeal, at the Caribbean Court of Appeal, for the Privy Council, I am assuming. However, when it comes to this case, if they was to have a retrial to make a final determination after the Privy Council sent it back, those transcripts were not ready. However, even though he was locked up for 12 years and 10 months or so, unless the defense asks for the transcript, those transcripts are not going to be prepared or pre-prepared and sitting down in some file cabinet, in some box, in some room. It is prepared once it is requested. So therefore, if the prosecution did not have the foresight to make sure that those paperwork were presented, just in case it went through all of the exhausted process, meaning Caribbean Court, meaning the UK Privy Council, and then when it came back, if they had to take it to trial, those transcripts were not ready. When the judge, being SYKES, asks, what is the term? When will it be ready? The answer that he got was not sufficient. The answer that he got made him and the other judges that made that decision. One lady announced, I think her name is Thomas or Thompson, don't quote me. However, it was a determination based on all of the judges that were sitting on that panel. I think a panel of 3 judges. Don't quote me. So they said that the answer that they got from the prosecution, based on her communication with the people that prepared the transcript, is that the transcript is not going to be ready in a decent legal time. So therefore, they made a determination based on the fact that the inefficiencies, the deficiencies, the negligence of the court, the system, the judicial, everybody upon a whole, specifically the people that do the transcript, prepare the transcript, those were not ready. So that is how Vybz Kartel actually beat the case. Am I saying that if the court or the case had gone to trial, he would not have beaten it? Me can't say so. So people, based on what the judge said, or judge's decision, they made a determination that because it is not going to be ready in an efficient way like it should have been, then it is going to prejudice that man, even though the physical evidence, the evidence that was gathered, even though the physical and the circumstantial evidence might have, based on the opinion of Judge SYKES, not based on my opinion, is that he is lucky to be free, he and his co-defendant, and he is out there entertaining millions, making millions, while the defendant, meaning the victim, Lizard Williams and the family, is asking, how is it that they could not even get a justice and have the people remain in a jail for their term that they were convicted and sentenced on, meaning 35 for Vybz Kartel, 25 for such man, 15 for such man, whatever the circumstances were. Point blank and period.
The artist know so they went go sell him out. The artist know that long time, man, so they went go sell him out. Who do everything to my son, bro? I'm just laugh off it. I forgive them, because they don't know no better. I forgive them and love them. I think they hate them. What I do to my son? I don't show me again not talk certain things. I'm not going to discuss certain things, because discuss certain things now going to make them be or it going to make you free. Me know everything. I mean, never hear me come and contact the truth. I mean, know who do it. And they know, so me know. Me know everything what happened to my son, bro. I set up my son the wickedest way. But you see him help too much, he love too much, and give too much, and help the wrong set of people that to help him down. The same blood clot people that must claim to love him, then go, they plan for fucking in the realest way. I don't even know. Just take squash and make a lesson. I not tell nobody say my son innocent. Because I live at Jamaica, I live at foreign, I can't tell what him do. You understand? So if you in my eyesight now, I can't denounce you. But he's not a violent person, he's a good youth. You understand? You just want to know, so him an informer because he take play deal. That is not informing. You don't know shit. So how do little vloggers them want me to chat on negativity and they put out this, oh him broke. I don't found like Florida mattress girl, you know. When I go on the man, them want get one t-shirt and one drink around, no get no money. So I say the man them broke. Him broke because he not no money, don't. Because I go on them for whatever, when I get no money, chat on them broke. One day freedom is a must. I put a 2 year, I put a 3 year. Freedom is a must, yeah. Know him, I know you. Dirty stinking suck good girl, cause squash fuck you and not give you nothing. And the one of the six them rub out your thinking bumble and not give you nothing drunk with them. Fuck out your mouth, fuck out your ears and fuck out your throat hole. So you come by your cause you know give you know they style you run, you move your 6 bars battery down the blood clot and go away. When you can't come by me, I TikTok feeding you know, drunk. Low life shit or spit toilet, uno begs come have a son at jail and uno not have no pit in a blood clot jail. Uno begs come my son got jail. Move on a blood clot. Thank you. Thank you, my jail. Uno begs come have a son at jail. Uno move on a blood clots. Me have to angle. Uno begs come have a youth go to prison. Uno not have none of there.
So the next thing that is popping in the news, based on the video that you saw at the start of this, is that we see that Squash mother is going back and forth at it once again. And every time that there's any news break about her son, and bloggers, social media personalities go out there and say anything that she finds very offensive towards her son, she decided that she is going to defend it at all costs. So that is the pattern that we find with Shelly Squash's mother. Now people are saying Squash are informed because Squash took a plea deal. So Shelly made a couple of posts on social media back to back to back and she's ranting. She's claiming that the son was set up by some friends who wanted to see him out. And she's defending that Squash is not snitching. Squash is not cooperating with the feds based on the fact that he took a plea deal. Now, people, here's the thing. Whenever you are the head of an organization such as Squash is seen or deemed to be the head of the SYKES criminal organization, you are on top of the pole. So therefore, the fish or the big fish is what the feds always seek. They will use the small fish to catch the big fish. It is not usually the opposite way around, the polar opposite way around. So therefore, the feds them want Squash like the flowers that need the rain. So therefore, they are going to make sure that whatever evidence that they can come up with, meaning physical, meaning circumstantial, meaning videos, meaning the past life that he lived, any kind of video, any kind of picture that they have seen him with, posing with guns, in which these guns were later found in a vehicle, in a house, used as evidence, physical evidence or circumstantial evidence. Then that is what the feds was going to use. So therefore, they had Squash as a leader of the criminal organization known as the SYKES. They saw him in these music videos. They saw him posting on social media. They saw him with the guns. Them see him with the liquor. Them see him with the car. So we cannot tell them anything else, especially when they are getting information from Jamaica that yes, these band of men from the Montego Bay St. James era, they are the SYKES, they are a part of the SYKES, and them create all sorts of chaos and catastrophe, and then them want wait to get deported after doing their time. But the feds is going to make sure that they give them the full book. So therefore, they show them the evidence, kind of spook them a little bit, and then the lawyer is going to make a recommendation that based on the fact Based on the history and based on the track record of the feds, 99, 97%, either way, you are not going to beat a 0.3 or a 3% rate in which you are successful. So therefore, the best thing for you to do is plea. Don't play with these people. They will make sure you get the maximum time allowed for wasting the court's time and knowing that you are fully well guilty. So therefore, take a plea and cut your losses. Point blank and period. So the next thing that is popping in the news, there's a couple of sayings. Do not get involved in a lover's fight. And even worse, cockroach don't belong in a foul fight. Meaning that whenever you see people in a them discrepancy, them physical, verbal altercation, maybe even though it is the right thing to do your civic duty, for assist and prevent any sorts of damages, meaning people getting juke up, people getting shot, people losing their life. Such is the case on or about the 16th of August 2025, a couple of days ago, wherein a man known as Sanjay Hall did us in the streets. He got involved in a fight that had absolutely nothing to do with him, wherein a man, 28-year-old Asani Sterling, was in a physical altercation with a next man. That was when Mr. Dodos run out, wheel and pop off him 5 or 7-star ratchet and lend Mr. Sterling a couple of them, defending the next man, name not given. Mr. Sterling was taken to the hospital for his injuries. However, too late was the call. He succumbed to his injuries. On or about 18th of August, 2 days or so later, Mr. Hall Dodos went to the police station and surrendered himself. After a question and answer session, it seems as if the police investigators were not very convinced with his answers. He was officially charged for the takeaway of Mr. Sterling. At the end of the day, Mr. Sterling had a physical altercation with the next man. Don't know if the man was Dodo's friend or Dodo's accomplice. Dodos decided that he was going to jump in at the middle like Money, and he was going to lend Mr. Sterling a couple of the sharp edges of his knife. Took away that man's life for a fight that he had nothing to do with. So at the end of the day, the man that was in the fight with Mr. Sterling, he is okay. He is going to live his life. Mr. Sterling is gone and Mr. Dodos is locked up. Is he going to assist in the legal affairs of Dodos? Is he going to assist with the burial of Mr. Sterling? More than likely, he might go sit down, lay down in his bed, look on the ceiling, look on the fan, and said to himself, John Star, I could have me lose my life. I could have me gone to prison. However, I am A-OK, even though I was one of the equal participants. So the moral of the story, like I said, leave people business alone. Cockroach don't involve in a foul fights. What don't bother you or what is not a part of your business, leave it alone. This is a time that we are living in, 2025. Things change. Nobody is taking any sorts of talk. People take you away for something, nothing, or people take you away for the most petty stuff. All because a person is trying to show and prove that they are bad. Bad ends up being DEAD. Point blank and period.